Hello, Watem here, and welcome back to some more Umineko When They Cry. Let us continue. That laugh doesn't sound at all evil and malicious. No, not at all.
上等じゃないか。お前たちも成長したものだ。この私に取引を持ちかけられるようになるとは。
これらを兄さんが飲むなら、私たち兄弟はお父様の財産状況調査を兄さんに一任する。ただし、その調査結果は公弁の対象となる。当然よね。75億分、私たちの取り分が減るように調整されちゃったら悲しいもの。
原則的に文句は言わねえつもりだ。兄貴が綺麗にやってくれたならそれでいい。
Neat and tidy.
よっぽど露骨なことをしなけりゃ、俺たちはことを荒立てるつもりなんかねえんだぜ。俺たちだって早く遺産が欲しい。いつまでもグダグダして取りっぱぐれたくねえんだ。
公弁された場合の再調査は誰がするのかね。
兄さんでいいわ。
Oh.
多分これが兄弟で合議する最初で最後の機会だもの。そんなことにはならないと信じてる。
ローザもたまには言うわね。
By this point, it's obvious that Kraus wasn't at all trusted as the older sibling, so there's no need to go into detail. The formerly tyrannical oldest brother had always abused his privileges and violated the other siblings' shares. It was in response to this that the other three, now adults, were finally teaming up and striking back for the first time.
申し訳ないが、条件はまだ続くんや。
Oh.
条件5。この取り決めはお父さんの遺言状に優先する。
Oh.
後になってこの取り決めが保護になるような遺言が出てきちゃかなわんちゅうこっちゃな。
入念じゃないか。なら質問だが、仮に本当に黄金が見つかった場合、どうするのかね。
それに対する支払いを兄貴が済ませてる以上、
You don't care?
俺たちは本当に黄金が出てこようがどうでもいいことさ。俺たちの取り分は先払いってな感じになるわけだからな。
夢があっていいじゃない。この島をリゾート化するつもりなんでしょ。その工事の途中でひょっこり黄金が見つかるかもしれないじゃない。
Evan let out a high-pitched laugh. Kraus watched, but didn't even flinch.
条件に7をつけてもらおう。
Oh?
私以外の兄弟が黄金を発見した場合、速やかに私に引き渡すこと。
Wait, what was... What? Yeah, he goes fifth condition. And then suddenly it's the seventh condition.
もちろん保証するわよ。
It was a play on words. Of course, the others, who were forcing Kraus to pay money for some non-existent gold, wouldn't save Kraus's portion if they actually found it. From the beginning, the steal had been nothing more than a threat directed at Kraus. Regardless of the actual facts, it was still extremely likely that Kraus was embezzling his father's assets. When Kinzo faced death at last, and had his inheritance distributed, some unpleasant facts would surely come to light. That could easily become fatal to Kraus. Okay, sure, they could make this agreement and have it be binding and all if the inheritance is actually going to them. they can rearrange it. But if the inheritance isn't actually going to them, then what? The others had spotted the sweet point in terms of the embezzlement, and were threatening their brother on the veil of compromise, trying to wring a huge sum of money out of him. However, they had forgotten one thing. Oh? They had forgotten that their brother's brain moved so swiftly, at least when it came to cunning and guile, that they had been forced to band together to combat him. While Eva couldn't stop smiling, sure of her victory, Kraus let out a gloating laugh to show how relaxed he was. How much of that is perhaps a, bluff?
とても良い話じゃないか。
No.
私もお前たちとの関係が疎遠になっていたことには非常に心を痛めていた。
I am certain it hasn't.
この条件を飲むことによって兄弟間の関係が再び有効なものにできるなら、それはとても嬉しいことだよ。喜んで話に乗らせてもらおうじゃないか。喜べローザ。取引は成立だ。
He singled out Rosa there, probably seeing her as the weakest in terms of kind of mental fortitude against him, I guess. Rosa's expression dimmed. It was never a good sign when her brother started talking like this. Eva also keenly picked up on this. That's why she was unable to wipe away a sense of unease, even though Kraus had obediently accepted the deal.
嫌に素直ね。兄さんらしくもないわ。
それはひどいじゃないか。私に下心があるというのかね。
Yes.
あるわけもないさ。お前たちと同じだ。
Just the same as all of you. He seemed to emphasize just that one part. The colour of Rudolph's face darkened. To him, it sounded as though Kraus was saying, I have a plan similar to yours. So Rudolph panicked. He rushed to bring this nearly resolved discussion to a conclusion.
ならいいんだ。じゃあ兄貴、ここにサインをもらえるか。今の話を書き出した俺たちの誓約書だ。人数分ある。同じ内容に全員がサインする。
Rudolph took 4 written contracts out of his breast pocket that had the details of their deal written on them.
クラウス兄さんの提案した条件7ももちろん今から追記するで。安心したってな。
兄貴、ペン使うか。
Rudolph took a fountain pen out of his breast pocket and offered it to Kraus. Kraus made as if to accept it, but then, with a small laugh, oh dear, he drew back his hand without taking it and spoke.
実はこの取り決めを確かに履行するために1点だけ修正を提案したい。
As soon as Kraus said that single sentence, all of the siblings felt as though something ominous was creeping up their backs at the same time.
ダメよ。もう決まった話よ。黙ってサインを。
エヴァ、何を焦っているんだね。もちろんサインはする。お前たちに黄金の分け前、75億円分を約束する。親父殿の遺産分配の時、きれいさっぱり清算することも約束する。
Share of the gold, don't you?
だが、1点だけどうしても譲歩してもらいたい部分があるのだよ。
何の話だよ。どの点が気に入らねえってんだ。
分け前の1割、7億5千万円を即納する点だよ。お前たちの指摘通り、私の財政状況は決して裕福ではない。数々の先行投資によって未来に必ず回収できると保証されながらも、今のこの時点では火の車であることは認めなければならない。 つまり今すぐに動かせる金は全くないということだ。私は無能で詳細の嗅覚も鈍い。お前たちの言うところの弱り目の私には7億半も半年で動かせる力はないということだよ。
But where would Jesus, since some of them lose your claim to be so smugly?
そんなはずはないでしょ。いい加減なことを言ってこの場をごまかす気？
遺産分配時に全て一括で清算する。1割を即納する条件を削除したまえ。それが私にサインさせるための唯一の条件だ。
クラウス兄さん、この1割はな、あくまでも兄さんの誠意を測る数字なんやで。本当なら取引の余地もない話や。
So, if none of them actually get the inheritance, would he technically not have to pay them? Is that why he doesn't want to pay them in advance?
そこを100歩譲った上で、とりあえず1割の誠意でこの場を丸く収めちゃるっちゅう大サービスなんやで。そう説明した上でそこを断るっちゅうんは、互いの信頼関係にちょいと影を落とすんとちゃいますか？
Hideyoshi had a humble expression on his face and was rubbing his hands together, but his eyes weren't calm at all. Kraus had already seen through to the shadow in the depths of those eyes.
お前たちは何を焦っているのかね。それとも何に怯えているのかね。どうぞ私にだけは教えてくれんかね。
Oh. What is there that you can't talk about in front of all of them?
他の兄弟たちには内緒でこっそりと。
別に私は。
よせよ兄貴。俺たちは兄貴がサインするかしないかしか聞いてない。妙な勘繰りも交渉もなしで。
ほう。私には交渉の余地もないと。立場が弱いのは私の方で公平な関係ではないと、そう言いたいのかね。
Shivers began to crawl up Rudolph's back. He began to feel himself getting overwhelmed by the height of his brother's completely insurmountable wall, and the long shadow that had existed since they were children.
取引は公平な関係であるべきじゃないのかね。この取引は私にとっては、弟や妹たちと長いことを失ってきた信頼を取り戻し、兄弟愛を深め合うもの。それは私にとって緊急に解決したかった心のしこりだ。それが今日解決できてとても嬉しいと思う。だがお前たちもこの取引を急ぎ締結することがとても嬉しいんじゃないのかね。
Kraus stared at each of his siblings. They avoided his gaze with animal-like instinct. Only Hideyoshi was slow in avoiding it, so he was caught by Kraus's gaze.
秀吉兄さん、あなたの会社非常に好調子だそうじゃないですか。トントン拍子で上場を果たし、業績も株価も右肩上がり。実にお羨ましいことです。
うちの人の話は関係ないでしょ。
だが株主たちに対する還元を怠ったのが悪かった。そして上場した時に足回りを固めきらなかったのもまずかった。
So he needs to buy back his company, maybe?
気づいた時にはたちの悪い連中に自社株をだいぶ買い集められていたらしいじゃないですか。
なんでそんな話知っとるんや。
秀吉さんと同じですよ。私に融資する人間などいないと裏を取れる程度に 私も秀吉さんの裏を取れるのです。そんな不思議があることはないじゃないですか。
Kraus grinned broadly. In contrast, Hideyoshi's face was rapidly turning pale. Hideyoshi's company was a restaurant chain management company that he'd started from nothing. Thanks to Hideyoshi's management efforts, the company had achieved success repeatedly, expanding its range, and a petition to make it a stock-listed company had recently succeeded. The greatest advantage of being a stock holding system is that you can sell stock certificates and gain a large amount of financing. The amount tends to be far greater than a business's normal profits. So, this is an extremely effective way to gather massive funds to expand a business even further. However, in exchange for financing the company, the stockholders gain certain rights. They are given rights that allow them to observe and guide the company they've invested in, leading to profits even greater than their original investments. This right is guaranteed to the stockholders, and they sometimes use it to dismiss ineffectual management. The right allows them to keep an eye on management and prevent the money they've invested in the company from going to waste. However, if they use it forcibly, they can reject the former management and take over the company. After all, dismissing management and nominating new management are powers held by the general body of all shareholders. That power is determined by the majority decision of the stockholders, and people who hold more stocks get to cast more votes. In other words, if some person or group holds a majority of the stock, they can freely chase out the old management and make the president anyone they'd like. If they want, it's also possible for them to make themselves president. Most companies take various defensive measures to stop malicious people from buying up their stock and threatening their position, like ensuring that lots of stock is bought up by those close to them, such as company employees. However, Hideyoshi's company had only recently become stock listed, and he hadn't had the time to strengthen those defensive measures. Or maybe Hideyoshi was so engrossed in the management of his company that he couldn't properly understand the dangers of being stock listed. It's hard to say whether he should be viewed as a kind-hearted manager immersed in the work of management, or a foolish manager who had his feet swept out from under him. In other words, there existed some people who wouldn't let him get away with that naivety unscathed. They began repeatedly buying up stock in Hideyoshi's company, rapidly gaining such strength that they couldn't be ignored. They then sent anonymous documents to the shareholders in an attempt to gain control of the majority. The documents read: "The current management continues to make pointless investments and is ignoring the needs of stockholders. Let us force the current management to retire, cut the current wasted investments, and let this company be born again as one that gives more back to the stockholders." It's very difficult to make the actual state of the company's management known. The fruits of Hideyoshi's sleepless nights and constant concern for his company were cruelly distorted, and he lost the trust of his stockholders. Thanks to these efforts, this group had almost collected a majority of the company's stock. At that point, even Hideyoshi noticed and started to buy back the stock, but the stockholders realized the company was undergoing an acquisition maneuver, and each demanded a ridiculous price for the shares that Hideyoshi was trying to buy back. They continually tortured Hideyoshi, who had no leeway in the negotiation of the price. One of the certainties of capitalism is that the prices will rise when two parties fight for the same thing. And one of the certainties of democracy is that the majority controls everything. So, in the end, whoever manages to buy up the most stock wins. Put another way, whoever has the most money wins. Unless Hideyoshi could obtain a large sum of money at this critical time, he could easily lose all he had built so far. Therefore, in all capitals, more than anything else, he wanted a lot of money right now. He couldn't wait for the division of Kinso's inheritance, since no one knew when he would die.
I was
going to say, are the others all in similar positions, perhaps?
海外は怖いとよく言うが、本当にそうらしいな。アメリカの裁判は極めて感情的に決まる。彼らは外国人に寛大な判決など出しはしない。
Right. Divorce?
先方と和解した方が結局は安上がりになると 弁護士に忠告を受けたんじゃないのかね。
何の話？
まあ仕事上のトラブルさ。大したことじゃない。
Okay, never mind, really.
金で切りのつく話さ。
Kyrie immediately guessed the meaning behind the subtle expression on Rudolph's face. Her husband had gotten wrapped up in some kind of trouble without her knowledge, and had been running all over it alone.
その通りさ。世の中なんだって金で蹴りがつく。失った兄弟の絆だって買い戻せるようにな。アメリカは権利侵害などにはうるさい国だ。だが金さえあれば何でも和解できる。資本主義万歳だよ。もっとも和解金は数百万ドルにも及びそうだとの噂もあるがね。
Surprising no one here after the lead up to that. Rudolph had been building a large amount of wealth with a certain type of niche industry. However, a niche is a niche. Definitely wasn't a business exposed to the light of day. An American corporate giant was trying to accuse Rudolph's company of violating their rights. For various reasons, it was thought that victory for Rudolph in his trial would be extremely unlikely, and he was being forced into an all-out surrender. But even so, there was a way for this to be resolved with money. If he could just pay that money, it might still be painful, but he'd be able to pick himself back up. But if he didn't pay, he'd lose everything. Therefore, more than anything else, he wanted a lot of money right now. Oh,
ローザは清く正しい妹だ。危険なマネーゲームなどには手を出さない。だが、お人よしな性分が災いしたんじゃないかね。連帯保証人は気安く引き受けるものではないと思うがね。
それはクラス兄さんとは関係ない。
Rose uncharacteristically laid bare her emotions and yelled. After all, no one was supposed to know that. As Kraus watched, he let slip a muffled laugh. Without exception, every one of them, more than anything else, wanted a lot of money right now. In other words, the situation had been reversed. After all, the person with younger siblings so threatening was the only one who had no urgent need for a large sum of money. The other three, however, wanted a lot of money quickly, no matter the cost. In other words, the longer it took to establish this deal, the better position Kraus would be in. However, the others, at the very least, aren't facing imprisonment. Kraus was extremely sly. He had known of their Achilles' heel from the beginning. Even so, he had not been certain. Therefore, he had hidden his knowledge until the very end, striking back only after analysing their attitudes.
私もできることなら、可愛い弟や妹たちの危機に金を工面してやりたいと思っているよ。だが、残念なことに持ち合わせがなくてね。7億半もの大金が工面できるスポンサーに心当たりがあるなら、先にそちらを当たってもらいたいのだよ。
Yeah, so if Hideyoshi was able to start the company from nothing and raise it into a large company, once he gets the full 7.5 billion, he's not going to be in debt from losing the company. Might pick up some debts until he gets the inheritance, but that shouldn't be a major deal. Yeah, if you're playing for the long game, really, you can take some sacrifices in the short term. The only issue with that is potential contract violation, and then trying to fight that without money. Krause's elated words were so obviously detached from what he actually felt. The other siblings could do nothing more than listen, grinding their teeth. If they could think of a sponsor that convenient, they wouldn't have kept up this charade. They had entered this huge battle specifically because they had exhausted all other options.
もしお前たちがどうしてもこの兄を頼りたいというなら、私の口利きでスポンサーを探してやってもよいのだがね。おっと、私にはそんな者はいないと言っていたか。それではどうにもならんね。
And you can't discount spite being a powerful emotion. Krause's low, gloating laugh began to fill the parlour. The younger siblings, who had been driving the oldest brother into a corner until a moment ago, could do nothing more than grimace and grind their teeth.
エヴァ。
冗談じゃないわ。兄さんに借りなんか作れるもんですか。冗談じゃない。冗談じゃない。
クラウス兄さんを頼ったらどう助けてくれるの？
言ったではないか。私にできるのは他のスポンサーを探すだけだよ。もちろん利息を融通してもらえるようには最大限交渉するがね。
ちくしょ。足元見やがって。
Oh, if he's going to take advantage of you like that, then maybe you should make some other changes considering his share of the inheritance afterwards.
あなた、落ち着いて。
落ち着いてるぜ。俺は極めて冷静だぜ。クソったりが。
Kyrie grabbed her husband's hand. That action made him feel even more pitiful, so Rudolph shook it off. Krause laughed as though watching something highly amusing.
こんな時、本当に親父殿の隠し黄金が見つかればいいんだがね。
That feels like the perfect transition to go to the cousins looking for the hidden gold.
そうすればすぐに25億ずつをこの場で切り分けてやれるのだが、残念残念残念至極。非常に極めて実にどうしようもなく残念だ。今宵は兄弟みんなで酒を酌み交わしながら、親父殿の隠し黄金をベアトリーチェの碑文の謎をみんなで解き明かしてみようじゃないかね。仲良し兄弟が4人揃えばきっと解けない謎はないはずさ。
No, we're going to Kinzo. Okay.
面白いことをする。
Wait. Does he have like listening parts all over different parts of the mansion? Is he eavesdropping on everyone?
それでその突きつけた条件というのは何か。
Or is it for Butler telling him?
はい。
Not for Butler I was thinking of. I wasn't thinking canon, I was thinking more like Genji. Or I think I heard it pronounced like Genki or something like that.
クラウス様は黄金の発見を問わずにその分け前としてエヴァ様、ルドルフ様、ローザ様に計75億円を支払うこと。ただしその1割を3月までに支払うこと。
Except apparently it won't be.
クラウスの間抜けめ。弟たちに足をさらわれるとはな。
In any case, I hope you all enjoyed. I'm gonna guess if there's still no tips. Yep. Yeah. So I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know any feedback you have in the comments. And until next time, see ya.